Welcome to the deep dive.
Hello.
Today we are diving into a really fascinating corner of reality, exploring the hidden world within sound. We're doing this by digging into excerpts from Jonathan Goldman's book, Healing Sounds, The Power of Harmonics.
Yeah, it's a really interesting source. And we've got a clear mission for this deep dive to basically unpack the surprising connections these sources present between sound, specifically harmonics, and how they might influence our physical, mental, and, well, even spiritual well-being.
Absolutely. It's almost like uncovering an acoustic blueprint for quite a bit. We're going to look at the science described in the book, how ancient traditions might have tapped into this power, and some really intriguing potential applications for healing and transformation.
And it's all drawn directly from the insights Jonathan Goldman lays out in these excerpts.
Okay, so where do we even begin unpacking this? The sources seem to start right at the basics, the fundamental nature of sound itself.
Right. It's presented simply as vibrational energy,
Yeah.
measured by frequency in hertz. And that frequency is what our ears, interpret as pitch.
Higher frequency, higher pitch. Simple enough on the surface, yeah.
Exactly.
We hear a single note, say, a C on a piano. We perceive one pitch. But the key insight here, the thing the book really emphasizes, is that most sounds aren't actually pure tones.
No, they're complex, mixtures of different frequencies all sounding at once. These are called partials.
Partials, okay.
And within that mix, you've got the lowest one, usually the loudest, which is the fundamental. That's the note name we usually give it.
Right.
But then everything else ringing out above it, those are the overtones, or what the book focuses on, the harmonics.
Harmonics. And here's where it gets really interesting, isn't it? And something the source material illustrates with that table showing the C at 256 hertz.
Yes.
These aren't just random extra noises floating around. Harmonics have a very precise mathematical relationship to the fundamental pitch.
That's the absolute core principle here. They exist at these clean whole number ratios of the fundamental frequency. So the first harmonic vibrates exactly twice as fast as the fundamental. That's a 2.1 ratio.
Okay.
The second one vibrates 3 times as fast, 3.1 ratio. The third 4 times, 4.1. And, well, you get the idea.
And these ratios, they actually map out the fundamental musical intervals we recognize, like octaves, fifths, fourths, thirds.
Exactly. It's like a hidden mathematical order just sitting there inside sound itself.
Wow. And this mathematical precision in sound isn't just some physics curiosity, is it? The sources immediately connect it way back to ancient philosophy and wisdom, particularly Pythagoras.
Yeah, Pythagoras, we know him for triangles, sure, but the book highlights he was deeply into music.
Working with just a single string, right? A monochord?
Precisely, a monochord. And he discovered these same mathematical correlations between musical intervals and simple ratios. For Pythagoras, this wasn't just about music theory, it was like the key to the entire universe.
He saw the cosmos itself as a giant monochord.
That's the idea presented. Its movements creating the legendary music of the spheres. The book even quotes him saying, study the monochord, and you will know the secrets of the universe.
Heavy stuff. The idea that the basic vibrating patterns of sound actually reveal cosmic laws.
It is. And building on that, the material discusses Hans Kaiser, who apparently felt we kind of lost this ancient harmonic knowledge, leading to a split between, say, the scientific and spiritual ways of seeing reality.
Okay.
Kaiser believed these whole number ratios weren't just in music. They corresponded to fundamental structures everywhere in nature, in science, like chemistry, physics, astronomy.
Wow.
He proposed this really interesting idea that you could derive qualities like musical tones from quantities like numbers, and sort of vice versa.
And this connection between sound, ratios, and form isn't just theoretical, is it? The sources bring it right into something really solid, like architecture.
That's right. That quote attributed to Goethe comes up. Architecture is frozen music.
Which makes perfect sense in this context because, as the book explains, forms built using the ratios found in the harmonic series, like the octaves 1.2, or the fourths 3.4, the fifths 2.3, we actually perceive those as visually harmonious.
Yeah, it feels right to look at. And this understanding was apparently fundamental to building principles taught in the ancient mystery schools. You see it reflected in temples from Athens, Rome, Egypt.
So they knew, somehow, that these same underlying mathematical patterns could create both a beautiful sound and a beautiful form.
It seems so. The book even notes the golden section proportion, which is famous in art and design. Well, it's related to harmonic ratios, like the major sixth, 3.5, and the minor sixth, 5.8.
So, okay, harmonics provide this kind of consistent mathematical framework linking vibration, this abstract concept, to concrete physical things, from a musical note all the way to a temple.
Which leads us right to the next really fascinating point in the sources: how sound might actually create physical form.
Ah, yes, this section highlights the work of Dr. Hans Jenny in his field, cymatics, which is literally the study of waveform phenomena.
This is where it gets visually pretty stunning. Jenny would take materials like water, dust, or even paste, put them on a plate, and then vibrate the plate with sound.
And what happened?
Well, suddenly these, inert substances would arrange themselves into incredibly complex, symmetrical, really beautiful shapes.
Wow.
The book describes forms resembling starfish, intricate geometric patterns, even shapes that looked a bit like biological structures, like organs or bacteria.
So it's a direct demonstration that sound isn't just something we hear, it actually has the power to organize matter.
That's what it suggests. And the really significant part, as the source points out, is that these forms weren't static. They pulsed with the sound. They held their intricate structure only as long as that vibration was present.
Stop the sound.
And the material just collapses back into chaos. Jenny concluded from this that the harmonic patterns you find in physics are fundamentally similar to those you find in organic nature.
That's quite a conclusion.
And there was another researcher mentioned, Barbara Hero, who used lasers to show something similar. Harmonically related sounds created these stable, geometrically perfect shapes in the laser light.
And non-harmonic sounds.
They produced shapes that were imperfect, unstable, sort of decayed quickly. But what's particularly compelling is that she apparently found the same effect when using the human voice.
Really? The human voice?
Yeah. Harmonic vocalizations created perfect forms in her experiments, while non-harmonic ones didn't.
That's a powerful connection. It suggests there's some inherent geometric order linked to harmonic vibrations, whether it's coming from a machine or, well, us.
Right. And it feeds into this idea, which is discussed in the book, that harmonics are kind of there and yet not there. We don't always consciously perceive them, but they might be constantly influencing things on a deeper level.
And the proposal then is that becoming aware of them, working with them, it can change us in stages.
Yeah, that's the idea presented. First, maybe our hearing deepens. We start to actually perceive them more. Then, perhaps our voices change. We learn to create them consciously. And finally, maybe our consciousness itself shifts, potentially opening up awareness of, well, other realities.
Which naturally brings us to applying sound, and specifically these harmonics, for healing. The source material really emphasizes this isn't some new age invention. Using sound for healing and ritual is ancient, cross-cultural.
Definitely. And the core principle described is resonance. The basic idea is that every part of our physical body cells, tissues, organs, bones has a healthy, natural resonant frequency, or maybe a spectrum of frequencies.
It's healthy vibration, essentially.
Exactly. And when a part becomes diseased or imbalanced, the idea is that it's vibrating out of harmony. It's lost its natural, healthy resonance.
So the healing potential lies in projecting the correct, healthy frequency or harmonic structure back into that area.
That's the theory. Through the principle of resonance, the sound is proposed to kind of entrain that part of the body, nudge it, help it vibrate back towards its optimal, harmonious state.
Like tuning an instrument that's gone flat back to the correct pitch.
Good analogy, yeah. But the sources really stress that just the frequency itself might not be enough. There's another absolutely vital component: intention.
Ah, intention.
Yes.
Yes, there's a great little illustration in the book about saying, I really like you.
Right. You can say those exact words sincerely or sarcastically or even maliciously to some imaginary enemy.
The sound waves might be pretty similar.
But the energy or the intention behind the sound is completely different. And the receiver, whether that's another person or maybe even a part of your own body, would sense that difference.
So the human voice is seen as uniquely powerful for this kind of healing, because it can consciously combine a specific sound frequency with a focused intention.
Precisely. That combination is key.
And this leads to a pretty potent formula presented in the book. Visualization plus vocalization, manifestation.
Yeah, it's presented almost like an equation for creation. It's rooted in creation myths from all over the world, the idea that consciousness first visualizes or intends something.
And then uses vocalized sound to bring it into being. Like, let there be light, and there was light.
Exactly. Or in practices like the Kabbalah, which the book mentions, a practitioner might visualize a specific sephira, one of those views of energy on the tree of life, and then chant its associated god name.
So the intention is the visualization of the energy.
Combined with the vocalization, the chanting of that specific sound is believed to actually manifest that energy. It's directed sound, but it's imbued with purpose.
Okay, so moving into some of the practical applications across history. The book explores specific ancient and traditional uses of sound and harmonics. One foundational practice discussed is using vowel sounds as mantras.
This seems incredibly ancient, yeah. Possibly originating in places like Egypt, but it definitely shows up strongly in traditions like the Kabbalah.
Where stressing the vowel sounds within sacred names is used to resonate with and manifest the energy of the Sephirot.
Right. There's a great quote attributed to William Gray that captures it nicely. While consonants give word structure, vowels put soul into them.
Hmm. Like these pure vocal sounds carry fundamental energy.
That's the feeling. Gray even apparently associated different vowels with elements and directions. Pretty detailed system.
Then there's the absolutely unique Tibetan tantric chanting. Their stated goal is, well, it's profound. Invoking deities, with the monks aiming to actually become the gods they are chanting to.
Yeah, it's really something else. And they developed this truly astonishing technique, the one voice chord.
Where a single monk produces a deep fundamental tone and simultaneously sings clear, audible overtones above it.
That's right. It's incredible to hear. The sources describe two main types. The Gyuto monks tend to stress an overtone that's 2 octaves and a third above the fundamental. Creates this rich, resonant sound, often described as like parallel thirds.
Okay.
And the Gyu monks stress an overtone 2 octaves and a fifth higher, creating these powerful parallel fifths. It's an amazing feat of vocal control.
And there are layers of meaning here too, right? It's not just technique.
No, not at all. The special voice apparently masks the literal words, creating more of an hum effect acoustically. It connects to tantric yoga through breathwork. And it links the chanters symbolically to their specific deities.
The source even mentions an anecdote about how they get that voice, dismissing some physical explanation.
Yeah, the abbot apparently waved away the idea it was about, like something physical in the throat. He stressed it comes purely from intense practice, dedication, association with masters, and deep meditation on selflessness.
So it's about internal transformation enabling this external sound.
Exactly. And other traditions echo this focus on vowels and harmonics. Sufi chanting is mentioned as another practice where the sacred aspects of vowel sounds are central, and you can really hear the importance of harmonics when you listen to it.
Right. And then crossing continents, we see the Aboriginal use of the didgeridoo.
Ah, yes. Which embodies that same principle of a fundamental plus overtones, kind of like the Tibetan one voice chord, but in an instrument.
It's just a hollowed-out tree limb, basically, producing a deep drone with these distinct ringing overtones above it.
Yeah. And circular breathing is key, allowing them to maintain that continuous sound, which the book suggests can induce altered states of consciousness.
And the Aboriginal belief presented is that the didgeridoo actually creates a sonic field, like an interdimensional window.
That's the idea described, allowing communication with the dreamtime race, the Wangina. It's deeply spiritual.
And the shamanic dimension extends even to finding the right tree limb in dreamtime itself, and then using the didgeridoo for healing by sounding it over someone's afflicted body part.
Yes, another clear example of resonant healing presented in the sources.
And that common thread of using vowel sounds seems to pop up across many shamanic traditions, too. Often described not as language with literal meaning, but as phonemes conveying pure feeling states.
Right, like the sound itself carries the energy or the information, not necessarily words.
Joseph Rael, from the Utua tradition, is mentioned too. His work with 5 vibrations, specific vowel sounds, and using sound chambers for attunement.
And it's noted that elder medicine people often hold this knowledge about the sacredness of vowels, but they might not always share it openly. It's considered very sacred.
So, okay, we see this ancient global recognition of the power of sound and harmonics, often focusing on the voice and certain resonant instruments.
Which brings us right back to the instrument we all possess, our own voice.
Exactly. The source material introduces the practice of overtoning, specifically using the voice as a potential healing tool.
First, it defines toning more generally. Just using nonverbal sounds like sighs or hums for relief, or resonance, building on the work of people like Laurel Elizabeth Keyes.
Simple sounds we probably make instinctively sometimes.
Probably. But overtoning then elevates this by adding the conscious use of those vocal harmonics we talked about earlier.
And the book uses a great analogy. Toning might be like a shotgun, sort of dispersing energy.
While overtoning with those focused harmonics is like turning the voice into a sonic laser, much more focused and potentially directed.
Okay, so how does one do that? The sources offer some guidance.
Yeah, they suggest experimenting with specific foams like OM or sustained M or N sounds, ninner, booner, ningong, things like that. And playing with pitch to find where your own harmonics emerge most clearly.
Finding your harmonic range, so to speak.
Kind of, and the emphasis is on making these sounds with reverence and respect, not just making noise.
Right. And there's a technique described called the silent technique.
Yes, this is presented as a more intuitive approach. The idea is you use your voice to sort of scan someone's body or energy field.
It's like running a sound detector over them.
Something like that. And you intuitively direct sound to areas that feel somehow imbalanced or out of tune.
It's highlighted that this is intuitive, right?
Yeah.
Not logical, yet it works, is how it's phrased, I think.
Exactly. The practitioner aims to be more like a channel for sacred sound, trusting that the right sound will come through for that person for that area. And sometimes, harmonics might just spontaneously appear when scanning a particular area, maybe signaling it needs that specific sound.
Interesting. And this can be powerful in a group setting, too. Group overtoning.
Apparently so. The suggestion is often to start with a unified OM to create group resonance, get everyone on the same page, vibrationally speaking, and then you could potentially add visualizations like colors or affirmations carried on the sound wave.
Like adding intention again.
Precisely. And there's a visualization for personal overtoning offered too. Picturing energy beams of divine love from the heart, divine sound from the throat, and divine wisdom from the third eye, all meeting and projecting together through the sound you're making, enhancing its sacred quality.
Okay, so beyond producing sound, the sources also really dig into the transformative power of listening. How simply becoming aware of harmonics can shift our perception and even our consciousness.
Yeah, this moves us from just passive hearing, where sound just washes over us, to active listening, consciously engaging with the soundscape.
And the work of Dr. Alfred Tomatis, a French physician, seems particularly relevant here.
Very much so. He studied how the ear functions beyond just hearing. He argued it plays a vital role in actually charging the brain, like providing energy.
Yeah, charging the brain.
How? He believed sounds rich in high-frequency harmonics, like Gregorian chants, which he studied a lot, were uniquely beneficial for this. He felt these sounds provide a sort of charge to the nervous system.
And the book shares that story about the Benedictine monks.
Right, who apparently became quite lethargic and depressed when they stopped their daily chanting for a time, and their energy and well-being returned when they resumed. Tomatis saw this as evidence of the charging effect. He theorized the ear provides a huge portion, maybe 90–95% of the body's total energy charge, specifically through these sound frequencies.
Wow, that's a big claim. And bone conduction is mentioned as one pathway for this.
Yeah, the idea that sound resonates through the skull itself, directly stimulating the inner ear structures and therefore charging the brain. Tomatis reportedly suggested several hours daily of exposure to high harmonic sounds could be really beneficial.
The discussion also touches on inner sounds, doesn't it? The anahata.
Yes, the unstruck sound current in Hindu tradition. Sounds that can be perceived in deep silence, separate from the physical outer sounds, the ahata.
Which leads to outlining different levels of listening. It's not just hearing or not hearing.
Right. It's presented as a spectrum. From silence to perceiving physical sound, then hearing the harmonics within that sound, then using imagination with the harmonics, and finally reaching a state of unity with the sound, maybe even using it for conscious travel.
That anecdote about John listening to the truck sound and somehow traveling to the Aborigines,
Yeah.
that illustrates this highest level.
That's the example given, yeah. It echoes that didgeridoo idea of sound as an interdimensional tool, in a way.
So this whole exploration into the potential of sound and listening really opens up some intriguing areas for, well, potential application or maybe future research.
Definitely. One area the sources point towards is the pineal gland.
Often linked to the third eye, right, deep in the brain.
Exactly. And it contains this substance called neuromelanin, which is suggested in the text to be capable of converting sound into light.
Sound into light. inside our heads.
That's the hypothesis presented, that stimulating the pineal gland with vocal harmonics might actually enhance this sound-to-light conversion process, which could, theoretically, increase the body's internal light field, its auric luminescence.
It connects back to the author's personal experience described in the book, feeling the room illuminate when he sang harmonics in Palenque. It's a pretty provocative idea about sound and light within us.
It really is. Then there's also the concept of brain resonance. The composer Stockhausen is mentioned, observing physiological changes in the skulls of overtone singers.
So the question becomes, can specific sounds, like harmonics, actually resonate and stimulate different areas of the brain?
Right. And vocal harmonics are suggested as a potentially non-invasive, maybe safer way to explore this compared to, other methods of brain stimulation.
Which leads directly into discussing potential applications for neurological disorders.
Yes, the book points to some examples. Work like Helga Rich using vowel sounds projected towards the forehead for conditions like aphasia. Or Susan Gallagher-Borg's Singing in the Brain. Work using vocal harmonics with the idea of stimulating neurons, maybe creating new connections in the brain and fascia.
Trying to bypass damaged areas.
That seems to be the underlying idea. And Judith Hicks' work is also mentioned, combining vocal harmonics and visualization for stroke and neurological rehab, potentially affecting the brain, nerves, spinal cord, even the cerebrospinal fluid.
It's all based on that idea of stimulating neurons with a specific vibration of sound and harmonics, encouraging the brain's natural plasticity to form new pathways.
That's the therapeutic potential being explored in these examples.
And the contrast is sharp too, isn't it? The sources briefly mentioned that study with rats.
Yeah, where rats exposed to discordant, disharmonic sounds showed negative effects on learning, on memory, even damage to brain cells.
So it suggests that just as harmonious sounds might have beneficial effects, disharmonic sounds could potentially have damaging ones. A sort of sonic hygiene, maybe?
Perhaps, yeah. It underlines the potential impact sound has, for better or worse.
Wow. Okay. So this deep dive has really taken us on quite a journey. From the fundamental physics of vibration through millennia of ancient wisdom and these diverse global practices.
All the way to the potential for healing and transformation that might be accessible through our own voices and just our capacity to listen more deeply.
The material really emphasizes the powerful potential described in these sources for healing, for transforming ourselves, for maybe expanding consciousness through sound, highlighting the often overlooked power of our own voice and the harmonics it can create and reveal.
It definitely makes you pause and think differently about the sounds you make and maybe the sounds around you, doesn't it?
It really does. Could there be this whole untapped potential just sitting there within your own voice waiting to be explored? Or maybe simply in how deeply you choose to listen?
It's a compelling thought. And if that core principle holds true that everything vibrates and creates harmonics well, what profound insights might we uncover about the fundamental nature of reality, or even just our own inner landscape?
By simply learning to listen more deeply, both to the world outside and maybe to the sounds within ourselves.
Exactly. It's certainly a thought that resonates.